Hi, how's it going? As life with two kids becomes ever more hectic and it gets tougher and tougher to get the full group together, I have increasingly turned towards solo games as a way to get my game on. So today we're going to take a look at 3 of those recent releases. Let's start the clock.
Paperback Adventures is a word-building card game based on the original paperback deck-building game in which the player takes on the role of a literary protagonist, battling a series of 6 foes with the power of words and the special abilities of their deck of cards. They must take out all 6 foes before running out of hit points in order to win the game. The player chooses a character, takes their starting deck and items, and sets their initial hit points and resources. The villains are divided into henchman-boss pairs in 3 books or levels. You'll choose these one book at a time, facing the henchman first in its Stage 1 mode. The enemy has starting health, with other resources starting at 0. This action indicator shows what the enemy will do on their turn, and the enemy vowel shows which card will be available every turn. In addition to that card, the player takes 1 wild card and draws the top 4 cards from their deck. On a turn, the player spells a word using their cards. This word is splayed right or left, revealing different icons and placing either the first or last card on top. The ability on the top card will trigger, and visible hit icons will attack the enemy, reduced by any blocking that the enemy does this turn. Energy is stored from turn to turn and can be used to trigger items and MacGuffins during the word-building phase. Blocks will reduce the amount of damage done by enemy attacks. At the end of a turn, the letter cards go to your discard pile, except for the top card, which goes to a fatigue pile, out of your deck for the rest of the battle. 4 new cards are drawn, the enemy action indicator moves, and the game continues. Hexes can be given to both players and enemies, and tend to strengthen attacks and abilities by the other side. Boons can also be generated by both sides, and can be used to pay for powerful abilities, or to purchase cards in between battles. When an enemy on Stage 1 is reduced to 0 hit points, it flips to Stage 2, and will not act this turn. Stage 2 enemies often have different attacks and abilities. Reducing a Stage 2 enemy to 0 takes them out for good. This earns the player the choice of a reward, which could include new items, healing, or upgrading cards in your deck, and a chance to visit the shop full of items and new letter cards, after which their deck is reset and a new enemy steps up to the plate. Taking out the Book 3 boss wins the game. Several options exist for adjusting the difficulty. A training mode provides even more starting HP and upgraded enemy vowel cards, and plot twist cards allow for beneficial abilities or additional challenges. Variability is the name of the game in Paperback Adventures. There are tons of items and MacGuffins to explore, and each character provides their own deck of card abilities. Beating Book 3 bosses unlocks even more cards for future games. All these cards are a blast to explore, but fans of traditional deck-building games might feel a little limited in their deck customization options. Players only get a handful of chances to add cards to their deck, and many of these will replace cards rather than make the deck larger. Triggering abilities, items, and MacGuffins are where the bulk of the character growth emerges. These status markers, while pretty, can be a little tricky to deal with. A full 6-enemy game is not a short experience, but for adventurous word game fans, Paperback Adventures is a worthy challenge. 8 out of 10. Wild Tales: A Pirate Legacy is an 18-card wallet legacy game in which 1 or 2 players control a pair of aspiring pirates as they collect resources, complete missions, defeat foes, and work their way through a series of scenarios in search of pirate glory. Each success unlocks new abilities in the form of stickers, as well as new and more dangerous challenges for the crew to face. Whether playing solo or with a partner, 2 character cards will face the challenge, equipped with the Stronghold card that will facilitate the storage and sharing of resources between the characters. The scenario book takes the form of a web app that tells you which foe you'll face, how many cards they've captured at the start, and which 2 objectives must be completed before taking down the boss. The rest of the cards get shuffled with their scene side up to form the action deck. The 2 characters will alternate turns throughout the game. On a turn, the first thing to check is the crisis symbol on the top card of the action stack. In the first round of the game, none of these are active, but if the symbol matches up with a threat icon, a nasty effect will be triggered. Once any crises are carried out, the character takes 1 action. One option is to interact with the scene, which can provide a free resource or more resources in exchange for something the character has already. The biggest reward comes from attempting a skill test, adding a character's stat to the number on the next card in the stack, hoping to meet or exceed a target value. Careful, If the crisis symbols on the top and second cards match, the check fails automatically. A successful scene action tucks the card under the character with the proper reward showing. A second option on a turn is to complete an objective. The character turns in the required resources, takes the objective card, and lines it up to display Stage 1 complete. This character must complete this objective 3 more times before the objective is fully overcome, but each completion provides additional stat bonuses or even free resources each turn. Lastly, characters may attack the foe. This works just like a skill test at a scene, though the difficulty increases for each card under the foe. The foe can't be truly defeated until both objectives are fully complete, but successfully attacking them before then removes all of the captured cards, keeping the foe from getting too strong. Whether or not the attack succeeds, the top scene card is discarded. During a turn, abilities can be used to share cards, boost skill checks, and more, and up to 3 cards can be tucked under the stronghold for protection and for sharing with the other character. When the scene deck runs out, the cards are shuffled, 1 is captured by the foe, the round marker advances, activating more crisis symbols, and play continues. If you can complete both objectives and defeat the foe before the end of round 7, you win and can move on to the next scenario. If not, maybe the seas will be kinder next time. Wild Tales offers an evolving experience in a small and inexpensive package, though it doesn't exactly offer as robust a plot as larger legacy games. Though highly portable, the game does take some table space and can be a little fiddly trying to spend and trade resources while not disrupting the board state. The game does offer some nice resource management challenge, especially as more abilities are unlocked, with a healthy dose of seafaring variability. 6.5 out of 10. Under Falling Skies puts the player in command of Earth's defenses, tasked with fighting off waves of alien invaders through careful dice placement, ultimately trying to complete enough research to fully understand the threat and take it out. The board consists of a series of sky tiles, where the invaders will make their approach, a specific city tile, possibly with a special ability, and a pair of base tiles matching the city tile, which contain the rooms the player can activate. Not all of these rooms are available at the start of the game. Everything in front of this excavator is off-limits, and players must spend dice to unlock the rooms. To start a round, the player rolls all 5 dice. These will get placed in the 5 columns of the base, with only 1 die per column. Each time a die is placed, any ships in that column move a number of spaces matching the pips on the die. This could cause the ship to change lanes, move the mothership, or put them in position to be shot down. Placing a die in an anti-aircraft room slows the ship down by 1 pip. If any ships reach the base, they do damage and fly back up to the mothership for another run. After placing a white die, all unplaced dice must be re-rolled. Once all dice have been placed, they can be resolved in any order. A die in front of the excavator moves the machine to that space, as long as it has enough pips to move there. The rooms behind the excavator are now available for placement. Energy rooms produce energy, which can be spent to power other effects. Research rooms move the marker along the research track based on the number on the die, and jet fighters can take out the ships that are on the hit spaces in the sky equal to or less than the die value. White ships are taken out completely, but pink ships will return to fight another day. Robot rooms put a robot die in a room that will trigger in a future round. These dice stay put and do not count against the 1 die for each column, but will tick down and get weaker each round. After all dice are resolved, the mothership will descend 1 space, triggering effects like reducing the research track, pushing back the excavator, or adding more ships to spawn. Then, any ships on the mothership will slot into columns for another run. If the mothership reaches the bottom, or the base takes too much damage, you lose, but if you can reach the top of the research track, humanity is saved. For now. If this all seems too easy, difficulty can be adjusted by flipping a number of tiles randomly at the start. There's also a campaign mode, introducing new cities, missions, and character abilities in a multi-chapter epic showdown that can then be integrated into standalone games. Under Falling Skies is a puzzly challenge with a tremendous amount of tension. Using the dice to not only trigger the room you need, but to also maneuver the ships into target zones successfully is very rewarding, but can also produce a lot of staring at the board time. And those automatic rerolls from white dice can be a blessing or a curse based on how much you liked your original rolls. There's a ton of variability in board setup once you work through the campaign, and that will keep Earth's solo defenders busy for some time. 8 out of 10.
All right, it's time for a somewhat precarious stack, at least the most precarious I've had in recent memory. We're going to begin with Wild Tales. That's on the bottom. It's a lovely game, but it's just a little limiting. There's not a whole lot there to explore. It gets a little samey, but still quite portable. Just don't try playing it on an airline tray table. It's a little too expansive. Anyway, that goes on the bottom. Now you'll notice I gave Under Falling Skies and Paperback Adventures the same score. So which one am I more excited about? I'm going to put Under Falling Skies next on the pile. I think the puzzly aspect of it, the staring at the board, trying to figure out what is going to happen when you place this one die, just slows it down just a hair in my mind. It's a lovely game, but it's not one that I'm as excited to play at the moment as Paperback Adventures. Paperback Adventures is just sort of exciting. All of the different villains and abilities in that box are so cool, and then you start adding on more and more characters to experience. It just becomes very heavy. Anyway, that's the stack. Some solo adventures. I have plenty to do for a while. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer. Thanks for watching.